I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and do that now?
We are recording.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I'm going to turn it over to Colin, but let me introduce him first. Colin is a community energy advisor, so he's the professional. He knows way more than I do, and he's been doing this for years now. Colin works here in Putnam, although he's based in Dutchess, Cornell Cooperative Extension. And it's his job really to help households and businesses to improve their energy efficiency, save money, and create more comfortable environments for us to work and live in. So Colin and I are in a team, so you're free to contact either one of us or both of us at any time after this presentation. This is not just a one-shot deal. This is what we are doing for the long run. All right, without further ado, pass it on to you, Colin.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Joe, and thanks to the Mahopac Library for hosting this event today. Of course, would be remiss if we didn't mention the good work that Sustainable is doing all throughout the county to create ecologically sound, socially equitable, and economically responsible communities for future generations. As Joe mentioned, my name is Colin Adkins. I'm actually one of three talented community energy advisors. We collectively cover the entire mid-Hudson 7-county region from Westchester and Rockland all the way up through Sullivan, Ulster, Dutchess. And there are in fact community energy advisors for every corner of New York State as well. There are plenty of fantastic programs statewide, and I have the pleasure of being your local community energy advisor. If nothing else today, I think the most useful information is just how to get in touch with Joe or myself or my colleagues. And don't worry about taking copious notes or anything. This contact info is going to come up again in the presentation, and I'm sure it can be shared around to all the participants today as well, and will be in the recording as well. With that, I like to start off these talks and these presentations with a sort of classic proverb. If you're familiar with the expression that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is today, the same is true for energy efficiency. There was a lot of things that we could have done 5, 10, 15 years ago on our homes or in our communities that would put us in a very different and better position today in terms of our energy use and our environment. But the second best time is today. And today is a great time to take a fresh look at some of these programs and services that are out there. And all along the way, I would love to be your partner and to help you in that. But even a little bit more than that, there is need in our country. 1 in 3 Americans, in fact, is energy insecure. And what I mean by that is 1 in 3 Americans have to forego paying basic necessities in order to afford their electricity bills. And I think at one point in time or another, we have all sort of felt that energy burden, so to speak, when you open up that energy bill and realize I have just consumed a lot more energy than I thought I was, perhaps. And for many people, that is an all too common occurrence and a very big hindrance to leading fulfilling lives. So energy inefficiency, really does, it hurts our budget. And I wanted to start with explaining sort of the runaway cycle that can occur here. Several of you put, into the registration some concerns that you had about why your house might be losing heat very quickly, or what to do about particular areas of the house, like an attached garage. When we talk about our buildings and we talk about our homes, we have to consider them as a system. That things that are happening in one part of the house actually affect things that are happening in another part of the house. And there's no better sort of example of this than a phenomenon that building scientists refer to as the stack effect. Oh yeah, thanks. And Joe's going to remind me here, folks are welcome to use the chat feature as well, pose questions at any time, and then we'll do a open Q&A where we could talk at the end.
Right, Colin, I just wanted to, I don't know if everybody's familiar with the chat and how that works, but down at the bottom, probably at the bottom of your screen, you see a little menu and there's a little chat icon and Word. If you click on that, it opens up a little chat window and you can type your message at the bottom of that window.
Yep. If that's hard to find, you can also hit Alt-H and that will bring up the chat as well.
Okay.
Sorry, jumping back in here, the stack effect, as it's called, is really actually just what happens to hot air when hot air expands. When hot air expands, it rises because it's less dense than the other air, and it wants to find its way up and out. The stack effect is also called the chimney effect, because once that hot air begins rising, it finds these little cracks, finds these gaps, and it wants to continue to go up and out. And when that happens, the pressure in our building, the air pressure in our building needs to balance itself back out. That is physics. And so the now low pressure from cubic feet of air rising and leaving and expanding needs to balance with pulling air into the home. And so that's where cold air comes in. And it usually always comes in down low. Like that chimney effect. Think of a chimney as hot air is rising, more air is rushing in to that fire. And so if you have a fireplace, for example, that is a very common area where the stack effect, if left unchecked, can just be venting straight up and out. You know, making sure that chimney flue is closed when that chimney is not in use, or if it's completely out of use, you may even consider a little bit more of a barrier there, a nice tight air seal, so that air is not continuing to go up and away. Other places that this is very common, you can visibly see it is around windows and your attic crawl spaces. Recessed lighting has a lot of little kind of gaps in it that, if not properly sealed, perhaps on top where it's out of sight, you could be losing a lot of air and heat that way. And sort of a side effect, a consequence of this, is when that hot air rises and finds its way into the attic, which is usually an unconditioned space, hot air then touches the roof, and then that roof warms up. And in the wintertime here, when you've got snow on that roof, it's going to warm up the snow. All of that heat is then lost through conduction to that snow, and that snow melts. The water runs down your roof, and then it hits the eaves and refreezes into icicles. And for a very long time, I very naively used to love looking at icicles, and people's icicles on roofs were just the prettiest thing and one of my favorite parts of winter. And I have a very different perspective now as a result of doing this work. And I see those big icicles forming, and I think, oh, wow, they must have really high energy bills. And like, oh man, my heart goes out to them. And that's sort of where I'm getting to is how this all works like a system. Because if you've got ice building up on your roof and you've got big icicles, you might be getting ice dams where there's too much ice building up and water backing up, water finding its way underneath shingles, down into crevices and crawl spaces and areas where it cannot ventilate, it cannot dry. And now you may be opening yourself up to mold or to structural damage, all just because there were some air leaks, right? That was the beginning of this whole equation. And once there is that cycle, more holes can open up. If you weaken the structure, and now you've got this runaway cycle of air rising, more air, cold air coming in, and this just continues to run away over and over and over again until suddenly you open up a bill and you see one of those enormous bars on there that you weren't expecting. And this is actually a picture of one of my bills from a very inefficient apartment I was living in Saugerties, where you're just gobsmacked by the number that you're now obligated to pay. And you thought, how did I get here? How did this happen? The reason is we spend most of our energy dollars just heating and cooling the space in our homes. In New York State, in the cold latitudes up here, we spend like over 50%, over half of our energy dollars just to heat the air in our homes, let alone the other appliances, the water heating. So that is why, energy efficiency or inefficiency is really detrimental to our budgets, but it goes beyond that as well. It's actually detrimental to our health. And there, you don't just have to take my word for it. There is a lot of strong body of research, peer-reviewed research out there. Everything from links to respiratory issues, cardiovascular disease, to just that mental stress of constantly worrying about your energy costs or being uncomfortable in your home. Maybe even fighting over the thermostat. All these things compound and has a negative consequence on our health. For the sake of time, I don't want to go into too much detail on the health front, but you can see that this is ingrained in many different aspects of our health. But I'm here to tell you today that there are solutions. There are solutions today, and there are ways that Joe and myself and others can certainly help you. In fact, just by virtue of paying your utility bill, you are helping yourself because you are paying into what's called the systems benefit charge. That is a fund. There's a small fee, cents on the dollar, assessed per kilowatt hour that you consume on your electric bill, that is then aggregated and redistributed into energy efficiency programs, research and development, programs to subsidize this type of work for low and moderate income households. That is literally money that you have paid into to have some of these things addressed. And so, where I'm going to get to now is a few of those programs. And I always like to remind folks that there are programs out there for pretty much everybody, regardless of income, regardless of whether you own or rent. There is help available. So don't let any of the kind of program structures deter you. Contact Joe or myself, and we will find something that can help. Beginning with something that is available to pretty much everybody in New York State is just a free look at your home, an energy audit or an energy assessment, to take that top to bottom look. Cover the ABCs, the attic, the basements, and the crawl spaces, see where there might be leaks, and put together an assessment and a quote, a very detailed quote of how you could then reduce your energy costs and that roadmap to get there. If you are looking to then do that work, the state also partners with financial institutions to offer, some low interest financing in order to do that work. But as we started off this presentation saying, there are a lot of people in America, in New York State, that need that little extra help in order to do this, because there is a cost to this. But if you this is an example for a household of 4 in Dutchess County, and in fact, this number is temporarily been increased through the end of the year. But a household earning less than $76,752 annually can get cost share, 50% of the project cost, up to $5,000, to do these energy efficiency improvements. If you're considered low income by the state's standards, earning less than $57,564 annually, again, that's for a household of 4. These numbers kind of go up and down depending on the size of the household. Or if you receive SNAP, if you receive HEAP, if you receive TANF or SSI, those temporary assistance programs, you just show that award letter, and you are eligible to receive 100% of the work covered at no cost. And I'm going to remind people again, because it bears repeating, you can be a renter and take advantage of this program. You are, as a renter, if you're still the one paying that electric bill, that heat bill, it is in your interest to help lower that cost, right? So these programs work for both owners and renters, and it's also a win-win for the landlord as well. But not only that, very recently, another NYSERDA program called Solar for All merged with Empower New York. So in addition to getting those energy efficiency upgrades, you're also going to get enrolled in a program to give you a bill discount, essentially, on your electric bill from solar credits. We're very fortunate here in the Hudson Valley to have many projects with space still available to participate. The last thing I want to mention, because I want to hear from all of you, is that there is help all throughout the process. From doing things like this, like outreach. I spend most of my time, either doing outreach or talking with folks about their projects, being that help, that advisor, someone who can be here through the whole process, from engaging with a contractor, getting that assessment, really going through those options, applying for any assistance or financing that you might be interested in, and all the way through the construction and beyond, really, to take advantage, make the most of those upgrades. People like myself and the Energy Navigator volunteers are here to assist you. And there's many people who've participated in these programs, and I'd like to, at the sort of close of these presentations, remind folks that it's not just about the kilowatts saved. It's not just about the emissions that are saved. Those are very great things, but this is also about families and our neighbors, and some of the really transformative experiences that can come along with this, when you're not squabbling as a family over who's setting the thermostat at what temperature, being comfortable in our home, and then having those financial resources to be able to put to things that you want to put them towards. There's a long list and a growing list of households and people that have gone through these programs, maybe even some of your own friends and neighbors. So with that, I am very eager to hear what questions anyone has, either about the programs or about maybe something that you're concerned with at home, and we can talk a little bit here and then answer some questions. You can also write me an email or give me a call anytime. I'm happy to discuss. And I think at the end of the Q&A period, Joe is going to kind of take one final question and offer his help to anybody, being the very local, excellent resource that you have there. So with that, you're welcome to put a question in the chat if you have a question there. I can take it that way, or if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask a question, that's great too.
Thank you, Colin.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The energy audits that you've mentioned, I think I'd like to know who does them. I mean, I've gotten phone calls sometimes from somebody to do one, and I don't know if they're public, private, and I just kind of didn't do it. So how does that work?
Great question. The residential energy audit programs have actually, gone through a couple different permutations in New York State here. Currently, these are through participating contractors. You have to sort of be on a list that NYSERDA has oversight of. NYSERDA being the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. These are contractors that are all vetted and have to maintain certain quality assurance standards in order to continue to participate in NYSERDA's programs. And they also have to have Building Performance Institute Gold Star certified contractors on staff, which is a very high level training and certification. I will say that there's in New York State, there is not a single public entity that does these. That you have choice in who you want to work with, and we always encourage folks be an informed consumer and to exercise your ability to shop around a little bit and find somebody you're comfortable working with. And we have some resources to help folks feel comfortable in that decision as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so basically, if I wanted to pursue this, I could go to a NYSERDA website, find a list of contractors, call one up. They could do an energy audit, and then I get an energy audit. And whether I decide to go forward or not with the repairs, then that's up to me, basically, right?
Absolutely, and you're not obligated to use that same contractor. You can get multiple assessments if you want.
Okay.
And I should also say, one of the more recent changes to the free audit is the free audit no longer requires a blower door test. A blower door test, though, is a very useful test to give homeowners a very accurate measure of the air leakage in a home. And if you are, so inclined to really want to get that deeper look at things, you can ask for the blower door test, but it's not something that is routinely covered now in the residential energy audit program.
Okay.
Colin, I want to follow up with a question. I actually had the energy audit done several years ago, and I can't remember now. Did I pay, or today, does one pay up front and then get reimbursed for that, or is it completely free?
Thanks. Great question. If you go through the residential energy audit program, you find somebody on that list, you give them a call, and you say, I want the free audit through the residential energy audit program. You don't ever have to pay out of pocket. It is actually just something that the contractor goes out, does, documents, and then submits a request to NYSERDA for reimbursement. If you want that extra measure, the blower door test, there is usually now a out-of-pocket expense for that.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. We had an energy audit with a blower test a few years ago, and we knew that there were some results, but we never received it from the contractor. How do you follow up on that? Do you report them to NYSERDA, or what do we do in that case? We asked them for the results too.
Yeah. You are not the only person I've met who has had an experience like that. Interestingly enough, I think that is a detriment to the person that someone like yourself who's trying to just take some information and sit on it, right? That is also one of the benefits, I think, to kind of working with the energy advisors, someone like myself who can also call the contractors on your behalf and say, hey, I'm giving Pat a hand here. We really need this information. And then if we really together feel like there's just any improprieties, that because these are state programs, as long as we know this was a residential energy audit program, participating contractor, and not somebody else's program, because there's utility programs and not just a private thing. There is a process, a level of oversight to these programs that is sort of our fallback, our ability to feel secure in that there is a process for oversight if needed.
Okay, so now if we get another audit, we'll know where to go for help, which would be your organization. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and Pat, if you want to, give me a call sometime or send me an email and let me know who did that assessment, if you remember who did it.
I remember. Yeah, my husband remembers. Yes. Okay.
We may yet be able to track it down. That might still be doable.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think Vincent has a question.
I had a energy audit a few years back through NYSERDA, and they did the blower door test and everything was covered. I didn't pay any out of pocket. I went back and forth with the contractor. They came into my kitchen for a while, but it seemed like they weren't really pressuring me, but they seemed like they were just trying to sell a product. They were trying to pump foam insulation into my downstairs. And then when I started questioning it, and they talked about making holes in my vinyl siding outside and things like that. So I went back and forth with them for a while, and then it seemed like when they saw I wasn't really going with it, or I was maybe not going to go with it, they pretty much cut me off. I never heard from them again, and I just,
Yep.
I don't know, I just felt like they were pretty much trying to sell me something.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that was your experience and that's how you felt. I think again, that's one of the benefits of this community energy engagement program is, I don't make our organization doesn't make, a single cent difference whether you decide to go forward with the work or not. We are here to educate and inform and do outreach. And so we're really here just to help you make informed decisions and help you feel comfortable in those decisions. So that is an area where the contractors, because by virtue of being a for-profit entity, even the ones who are very earnest in their work can't always spend the time that they want to work with a customer, because it's a for-profit business and they need to continue to move forward. I am here, no matter when, to help you make sense of these programs and the decisions at hand. I see a question from Pat. If I'm asking if I'm allowed to recommend good contractors, that is actually a limitation from Cornell Cooperative Extension. We don't recommend contractors or subsets of contractors, for-profit businesses of any kind, really. But we believe in putting tools in your hands to help you make those decisions. A couple suggestions I can tell you from experience. One is, work locally. In my experience, contractors are very receptive to those in their hometowns and home areas, and the closer they are, the better. It's also good for scheduling because it's very easy for them to come out and get to you and not have to, spend several hours in the car to get to you. The other big suggestion I would give is really invest that time in the beginning in your search process to have a conversation, to ask them questions and make sure they align with your values. Maybe you have a historic home and you're really interested in maintaining the aesthetic or something, or that you have certain concerns about certain materials and you want to know what products and specific materials they tend to work with, or what levels of certifications they have. We actually maintain a list of kind of interview questions. It's one of the resources we share with folks early on in the process, to just give you some food for thought and some things you might want to talk about right out of the gate, so you don't get too far down the process to find out later that that's actually kind of not what I was expecting or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a good question, Pat.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
And I apologize because I had to step away from my desk for a minute. But Joe, what is your role in terms of assisting people locally? Did you talk about that?
No, not yet. I essentially kind of an assistant to Colin, who is the expert. But I've been trained in the different programs that are available and the eligibility requirements for some of those programs. And, you know, I already knew a lot about this, you know, this kind of work because I've had it all done on my house. I did have a NYSERDA energy audit done several years ago. I had a very good experience with the contractor I used. And I did go forward with the weatherization recommendations that they made. They had also recommended heat pump, air source heat pump mini splits, but I couldn't afford it at that time. So I didn't do that part of the project. I wound up doing that actually just this past year though. I went back and did that, had that done on my house. So yeah, I guess I look at myself as kind of a feeder for Colin. You know, if people want to contact me locally, especially people who know me, might feel more comfortable, just want to chat, and then, you know, any questions I can't answer, I would definitely, you know, forward those to Colin on their behalf or put them in touch directly with Colin, whatever they prefer.
I think same advice for going to Joe is if you start locally. I know Joe's going to be very eager and inclined to pick up the phone and give you a call. I have a big region to cover, and I always try my best to get to everybody on my list for the day, but more calls will come in or other things come in, and I'm sure Joe could maybe get to you a little faster at times, and when needed, always here to back up.
Great.
Were there any questions about the programs specifically? I know that there's a very kind of cursory and quick kind of overview of those programs, but I'm happy to answer any questions about that as well.
As far as the financials, you're saying there's a limit on their salary. Does that go by adjusted gross income or?
Yep, it does go by gross.
The AGI.
Yep. You know, and there's sometimes you know, pilot programs and other things that come up that have, you know, slightly different incentive structures to them. Not all of the incentives are always based on income. And that's why I really encourage, you know, folks to reach out at the beginning of their project and then after that assessment and let us kind of keep informed of what decisions are at hand at each stage, because sometimes a new incentive comes up or something just rings a bell and I think of, oh, you know, I can think of this resource outside of, you know, the kind of core that I work on, and we're able to layer them in.
Yeah, having you know, gone through some of these programs myself, there's things I learned that I wish I had known before I started. So I would recommend, like, even if you don't have a question, if you want to get a hold of me or Colin and say, you know, like, I'm going to do this project, you know, any tips, any pointers, anything I should watch out for, anything I should ask the contractor about, you know, might be useful.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, I know you had a question for the audience, or a note really, and let me put Joe's information on the screen one more time for all of you. Yeah, Joe, you wanna bring us home?
Sure. I just wanted to remind everybody that, yeah, I am here and I'm local and working with, you know, Sustainable Putnam, and you're going to be receiving an email from the library as a follow-up to this workshop with my contact info and Colin's contact info. And, you know, if you're interested in, you know, pursuing, you know, any one of these programs, you know, please let us know, either one of us. And if you contact me, actually, that would probably be the first step, is to contact me. let us know that you're interested. And I'm going to have available shortly some free giveaways, some LED light bulbs, door sweeps, and a couple of other little kind of do-it-yourself in-home weatherization products that you can use yourself. And I'm also going to make available a checklist of things you can look at yourself, either to accompany a home energy audit or to do on your own, perhaps as a preliminary step. So, you know, watch for that email from the library that Debbie will be sending out after the presentation. And, you know, feel free to get in touch with us and follow up and, you know, pick up a free LED light bulb or door sweep. I want to thank Mahopac Library once again for hosting our presentation. We really appreciate the publicity and the Zoom space here that the library has provided. And thanks to Collin Adkins for all of the work that he does every day to make our homes and our businesses more comfortable, energy efficient, and more affordable as well. So thanks everybody for coming. And if you know think of other questions after the presentation, you know how to get in touch with us, or you can wait for the email from Debbie to follow up. Thanks, Collin.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks again to Deborah and all of you.
Thank you
very
guys. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.